Hey everybody, glad you're here with me today. Welcome to my channel, Leslie Williams 126. And this channel in particular is for people who are looking to break into the paralegal field primarily, but it's also and can be related to people already in the field. But primarily I talk to people who are trying to break in or in the beginnings of the career, okay? I have a website called lesliesansonewilliams.com, and I'll post a link later on. I wrote a book called Legal Break-In, which is on Amazon, and I'll put a link later on to that in the description box. You can look on previous videos to this, and you'll see links. There's also a link to a very helpful pamphlet that's laminated, which has legal terminology on it. So look at a previous video in the description box and you'll see that there. But all three links are there that you need to tell you more about me and the website and all that, okay? The launch of the class is going on right now with a special group of people who enrolled in September. And then our next launch of our Paralegal Inner Circle class is January 5th through the 12th. And that's registration. So get on the wait list on my website. You'll go to my website below there. I have the link in the description box, previous video, okay? One of the questions, hey, how are you? Glad to see you, Jemiah and Kay Kalk. Thank you for being here. One of the things that people question me about is age. And today we're going to talk about change. But you have to give yourself the freedom to make that change. And some people will ask me if 30 is too old. I've been asked if 19 is too young. On the other side of this, I've been asked if 40 is too old, 50, 60. It really is a state of mind regarding change. It has nothing to do with age. I mean, I don't see a lot of 80 to 85-year-olds going into the legal field, to be honest. Oh, hey, hello, Stephanie, how you doing? But, you know, there is, the cutoff point, the age cutoff point is dependent on you primarily and your head's, what goes on in your head. And if you're listening too much, and you know I talk about this a lot, to other people, it will just stop you in your tracks. And you might be listening too much to prejudices that you have regarding age, and that there's some type of cut-off point that where you cannot go after your dreams. Well, and we're talking about the legal field today, but I'm going to talk about some other areas where change has to be made or should be made. And it may, in certain respects, I've had to make some changes in my life along the way. We all do, right? But things can hinder us, and we can go into stagnant mode where we can't move forward because we choose not to. It's a choice. And someone said to me not too long ago, Leslie, but the fear is real. Of course it's real. I experienced that myself. But it's what you do with the fear that's the difference. Yeah, I got you, Steph. Faced it as well. And the fear would stop me from making that change. And then I'd just have to do all I could when I wanted to change to a different area of law, to learn about it, to educate myself as much as possible, because I had to convince some people, right? I mean, I was in litigation right from the start. Not everybody is, but I was. And I was looking to stay in litigation, but be in a different area of law. So I had to do some convincing, and that was the challenge. I was up for it. I didn't feel like I couldn't do it, but it took work and teaching myself. I had jumped over enough fear hurdles that I didn't mind jumping over them anymore. I knew what to expect, that I would have people not believe it, and that became with how good I was at convincing people and speaking the language they need to hear, that so that I could convince them. So that's what it takes, and that's really all it takes. We have to convince ourselves first and then convince them, the people that we want to work for. So that's it in a nutshell. And it's, we have choices regarding fear. What I talked about earlier today to some people was the day that the new car I bought, which was only about a year and a half old, had some major problems. It was a Lemon, and it was a foreign car. It was considered a good, reliable brand, but for people who know what this means, the rear end was shot in the car. And so I traded that car in for a VW Beetle stick shift. Did not know how to drive a stick shift, but I did this on purpose. I laid the groundwork with my uncle, who was going to teach me. My mother looked at me when she said, "You bought a stick shift car and without knowing how to drive it?" I said, "Yes." This was the first time I went to buy a car by myself. And number two, I bought one that I didn't know how to drive. But I did this because when I was learning how to drive at 16 and a half, I was told I was too stupid to drive a stick shift. Now, that doesn't leave you when people say that kind of trash, you know, and do trash talk to you. So I knew that someday I would learn how to do it. I talked to my uncle and he said, "I'll teach you how to drive it by going around the block. And we'll do that as long as it takes." It took 3 times to 4 times to go around the block in front of my parents' house to learn how to drive that car. That was one of the biggest hurdles, buying the car by myself and then learning to drive it. Yes, I stalled it the next day at a toll booth. Nobody was behind me, thank goodness, but nobody saw that. I did that in private. That's okay. I avoided hills for a while. People who've driven stick shift know what I'm talking about, and learned how to use the tricks to learn how to use the clutch and the brake and gas and all that stuff. So that was a big hurdle to get over. But that was the beginning of many hurdles in my life that I've climbed over. And it doesn't, I will say that the hurdle doesn't get easier, but my viewpoint on it was stronger. What I think about hurdles changed. Instead of looking at it with fear, I looked at it with almost like, you know, stubbornness, and it's a challenge. So it isn't just, right, when we're going to get a new job or move into a new area of law. It's other challenges in our life that we have to fix, make right. I've apologized to my spouse when I thought I talked in a mean way. You know, he's done the same. We've been married for a long time. And we kind of, you know, try to avoid that type of scenario because we don't like arguments and fighting and that kind of stuff. I grew up watching a lot of, not violence in my house, but a lot of just harboring anger. And he did not grow up that way. And so that was helpful to me to learn how to work through those issues because I did not know how to. I didn't see it in the house. So that was a challenge for me in the beginning, and learned how to do it. It's communication. And when you're in the law firm, that communication is important. Hiding things, going into silent treatment, that type of stuff. I learned how to confront things nicely with attorneys and not doing it in a hateful, you know, like angry, over the top angry way. Even though I do have a temper, I try to keep that under control at all times. Everybody has a temper of some sort or another. Going into a new career after shutting down my plant nursery, that was a challenge. So think about the barriers you've already knocked down. So I'm sure you have experience in knocking down barriers. It's no different than knocking down the one to get you in this career or change into a different area, different type of job within the career. It's going to take the same chutzpah, the same do or die type of attitude, rather than letting the barrier permanently block you. And that's what it takes. And once you've overcome barriers already in your life, you have to use that mindset to overcome the ones that will be in your way for the rest of your life, here and there, in different seasons of your life. I've had to forgive people who hurt me and just get on with my life. I've had to not put a tragedy or the loss of a loved one behind me, but keep living my life in spite of a severe, incredible tragedy. And in spite of people not being by my side at that time that I thought would be by my side, and not being bitter about it, because the bitterness will put you in a very bad place. And keep moving forward and not harboring that anger and hostility and bitterness, because it expends too much energy and you won't get to where you need to go. God has that purpose and a plan for your life. Don't let a barrier derail that plan. That's your choice. That's your choice. Yeah, I know fear is real. Everybody experiences it. Nobody is different. Every human experiences it. So what are you going to do about it? What will you do today to move that agenda forward, to move your plan and purpose forward? One of the things I looked at is, if I want to go on a trip, I have to plan. And I don't like planning things in my personal life, because I plan in my work life all the time. But in my personal life, yes, if I want to go on a vacation, I have to start planning a year ahead of time. And so, yeah, I had to get my financial house in order. My husband and I did many years ago, when our finances collapsed. We lost our home. He lost his job, which started the whole thing. The job was a job of 28 years. And my father had gone through the same thing of having a job for 30 years, and he lost his job at age 46. So both my father and my husband and myself were able to rise above that insanity of being laid off, let go, downsize, whatever you want to call it. But it created a house of cards situation for us personally, and we lost everything except our cars and our children and the clothes on our back. And our children were already 17 or 18 and 20 at that point. And my oldest daughter had to drop out of college for 6 months until we established residency in Florida from Oklahoma. And so those changes had to take place. They were challenging. I shed a lot of tears. I couldn't pay for my children's education any longer because the funds were just not there. Big changes occurred. And I wondered if I would ever own my own home again. I was privileged to own my own home before, but we lost it. And you know what? When we rented a house and moved to Florida, rented a house, what did God do? He put us right next to a real estate agent who knew how to get us in a house for hardly any money down, and we could start rebuilding our lives. God did that, not us. I was looking at a different rental house that I wanted to go into. My husband liked the one that we ended up in, and I compromised with him, and we ended up next to a realtor who is still he's a very dear person to us. And so we only used him when we bought some rental property later much later, that we used him as our realtor because there's a loyalty there. And he helped us so much. Big changes occurred that we had to bounce back from. And it was only because of putting our trust in God that we were able to bounce back. It's only because of God. So I wanted to, in the recent times, wanted to eat better, eat healthier. I don't mean like get on like I'm eating like green smoothies all the time, but I mean eating well and in a healthy way, and that's an achievement for me. And wanted to be more committed to understanding what God wants me to do in my life and what God wanted me. If I hadn't listened to what God wanted me to do 2 years ago and record videos here, some people that are on my channel right now would not have jobs. That's because after putting it off for a while, I decided to make videos and communicate the truth about this career and what it is and what it isn't, and what it takes and what it doesn't take to get into it. And that's why the book was written, Legal Break-In, and that's why the course was developed, with more courses to come, all to help you. So, did I face fear? Oh, you're so welcome, Steph. I want you to know, number one, all of you, that you are not alone in this journey. Those of us who've broken in without school, and those who have broken in with school. There are two camps. Okay? You do not have to go into debt to get in this career. You do not. And I don't want you to just be to succumb to that one train of thought in how to get in this. Okay? So don't, in legal, we never make assumptions. Don't assume there's only one way. Binge watch these videos. Don't take the easy road and question me before you've searched through the videos, because there's probably a video that answers that question. But if you don't find it, just ask, okay? And I will direct you. I have one question that somebody asked me that I still have to answer, but I think I've answered everybody else's. I try to keep on top of that. There was a delay when I was out of town, and but I think I'm caught up now, except for one question that I have to cover. Don't let what people say stop you. Don't let your own thoughts stop you. Don't let the fear of change stop you. Do not let that happen. For everybody who's broken in, it's taken a can-do kind of attitude, and sometimes we'd go 2 steps forward, 3 steps back along that journey. Believe it. I've sat in my office waiting for that phone to ring, no job, no money, crying, praying, and learned a lot that I put in my course, Paralegal Inner Circle class, from that, because there was nothing out there to help me. And so many years later, I created it for you all. So don't give up. Okay, and this is just a typical thing that occurs when we doubt ourselves. We start to think, oh, it's because I don't get any response to my resume or cover letter because they only want people with experience. I can tell you that's not true. It's that you're not communicating in your cover letter properly, and you're not showing and telling, because you've got to do some convincing, and that's not what's happening. And that's an art, and I teach that in the course. So stay tuned for that for January, and go to the website and get on the wait list, and go to a previous video and look in the description box here and click on the links that are in there. One's for that wait list. It's for the Paralegal Inner Circle class info, it'll say on it on my website. Okay, that is it for today. I don't want you to give up. I want you to have the career that you want. Maybe that first job won't be the job that is the one you want, but you will be on your way. The first job I had wasn't the one that I was going to stay in. I was there for 7 months, and that story's on other videos. Um, Probably it was several jobs down the road where I had the job that I really wanted. But along the way, you're learning, 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 and you're adding to your repertoire, your paralegal repertoire. You're adding knowledge all the time as you go along. All right, that's it, kiddos. Have a great day, and I will talk to you tomorrow with another topic, so stay tuned. And I love being here live with you, and be sure to ask questions or post comments below. If I can answer it, I will. If I can't, I'll tell you, usually. And what I would do is make sure that you, for the first step in this process, if you haven't already, that you click on the link in the description box for Legal Break-In the book. And then from there, the second step is taking the course in January. Don't skip that stuff. It'll blow your mind. There's a learning curve, and you need to get more of an edge before you start doing things the wrong way and sending your resume and cover letter out in an improper way. You need to know the right way to get attention and to show them what you do know. All right, so have a great day, and I'll talk to you tomorrow about some more topics that are relevant to this career path. All right, take care. Bye-bye.